Hello, my name is Nancy Lynn Dillon. I am the president of the Alberta Society of the Deafblind. ASDB is a consumer-led organization. Our membership is comprised of deafblind, hard of hearing blind, low vision deaf, low vision hard of hearing, and deafblind plus other disabilities, for example, cognitive or developmental delays. Members also include allies, family members, friends, interpreters, SSPs. Our members also use American Sign Language or English. Throughout the presentation, we will use the word deafblind as a generic term for all people with a combination of different levels of vision and hearing. It is intended to include everyone who might benefit from support service provider services. In Canada, the term intervener has been used to encompass multiple service roles. ASDB defines the four fundamental accessibility service roles separately. We have adopted the definitions used by our colleagues in the USA: interpreters, support service providers, communication facilitators, and interveners. By clarifying the definitions for these unique roles, we are hopeful that adequate services will be provided for all the needs of deafblind people, whatever they may be, as they seek to access their communities and engage autonomously in the tasks of daily life. We have created this video as a tool to educate the community at large, with a particular emphasis on the role of the SSP and the valuable service they provide to the deafblind community. We hope you enjoy the presentation.
Hello, I am Kevin Culp, and I will be your narrator for this presentation. As Nancy Lynn said, four of the fundamental services that support autonomous and equitable access to the mainstream community for deafblind persons are SSPSs, interpreters, CFs, and interveners. The emphasis of this presentation will be on service support providers, SSPSs, but we will start by defining the other roles first. We'll begin with interpreters. Interpreters have graduated from college or university interpreter education programs where students study interpreting and translation theory, ethical foundations, and cross-cultural awareness, among other important topics. Interpreters augment these skills by studying specialty areas such as legal, medical, and mental health, and include the specialty area of working with deafblind individuals. Here you can see interpreting in a conference setting. Interpreters working with deafblind persons provide the following principal functions at an assigned event or appointment: interpretation of spoken or signed information using the deafblind individual's preferred language and communication technique, for example, small frame or hand-over-hand. Describing the physical environment and the atmosphere of the assignment. Physically guiding during the assigned event or appointment. Some of the settings include medical, financial, employment, legal, mental health, social services, conferences, training, and emergencies, etc. Deaf interpreters may also work in these settings as part of the interpreting team. Interpreters also work with hard-of-hearing blind non-signing persons to facilitate communication in the aforementioned settings. The key to the interpreter's effectiveness is their fluency in the deaf-blind or hard-of-hearing blind person's preferred language, for example, sign language or English, and the communication method such as tactile method, limited frame, or pro-tactile. Now that we have defined interpreting, we will now turn to the work of communication facilitators, CFs. A CF is a fully fluent signer, often a deaf person, who repeats or relays the sign language source message of someone else directly to a deafblind person. Again, the term intervener, IV, is used in some parts of Canada to refer to people who do this work. The services of a CF are used when the deafblind person is attending a meeting, event, or is engaged in a video call where the other speakers or participants are communicating in American Sign Language. Or they may be attending a meeting or event where the presenter's spoken English is being interpreted into ASL. This is an example of a banquet of a deaf organization where CF services are being provided. In this setting, no one is speaking English. In addition to facilitating the communication happening in the event, the CF provides additional information about what is happening in the environment. For example, who is present, the dynamics, and the atmosphere of the setting. When the deafblind person wishes to contribute or respond, they will sign for themselves. The CF role also includes assisting the deafblind person with physical navigation of the environment. Some SSPSs also work as CFs, but the primary skills for each role are quite different. Briefly, we will touch on the role of the intervener, IV. As mentioned earlier, in many parts of Canada, the role of the intervener is defined very broadly. For this presentation, we are using its more limited definition, focusing on the educational setting. Interveners, IVs, work in the K-12 educational system and possibly preschool early childhood intervention programs. The intervener mediates the visual, intellectual, educational, and social environments, as well as the auditory environment for deafblind children and students. The IV also acts as a guide, assisting the student with physical navigation of the environment. Key to the intervener's effectiveness when working with young deafblind children is being able to fluently model language and use various communication methods that are accessible or perceivable to the child. This stimulation and teaching is to support the child's individual developmental milestones of language emergence and acquisition, leading to effective two-way communication and successful educational outcomes. Now that we have described the roles of the interpreter, the CF, and the IV, we can now move on to the main focus of our presentation, the role of the Support Service Provider, SSP. We'll begin by asking some of our ASDB members to describe what an SSP does.
SSP. It means Support Service Provider. So it's a person who guides the deafblind person wherever it is that they need to go. The SSP keeps the deafblind person informed of what's going on in the environment.
They empower me to do the things I want to do, while at the same time remaining neutral and non-judgmental. That's their role, to remain neutral and empowering. They do not make decisions on my behalf, they just support me.
SSPs guide us when we go out. They keep us safe, they prevent us from getting lost or from anything else bad happening. They help us not to be helpless.
With a communication facilitator, I can use the phone or video technology to talk to my friends or anyone else I want to contact.
The SSP guides the deafblind person, provides information about what's going on. They read to us. They really do function as our eyes. So we really need ongoing services. It's important.
SSPs help us make lists. They help us read papers and books because we're not able to read print. Also, support service providers will help us to read forms because we're not able to see that information. They can help explain it to us and fill out the form. SSPs also help guide us to the bus and make sure that we're getting on the right bus.
I think SSP is super important just because they help me get around in the community, and I feel less isolated because of it. And I'm able to get information so that I know what's going on in the world around me.
The SSP will tell me who's around, what's going on in the environment. They read us the news so we don't fall behind on what's happening.
SSPs allow me to be involved in different activities to keep me busy. So for example, like going swimming or going shopping, going to the bank, even things like eating out, that kind of thing. I'm also able to get news through them because I can't see 100%, and so I don't really always know what's going on out there. So SSP really just keeps me updated with current events and what's happening. That's why it's so important to me.
They assist with grocery shopping, going to the bank, to doctor appointments, the gym, hockey games. SSP services are exactly what we need to get out and around and do everything we need to do. It's awesome.
One of the ways an SSP has helped me is that she or he allowed me to make phone calls to banks, credit cards, for example, phone calls to Access Calgary, phone calls to almost any place that has to be made, and yet I can't do it by myself. She helps me in grocery shopping. She reads me the price on the shelf. She takes me to the proper shelf to find what I need. She helps me at the cashier. She voices over what the machine tells me is the total.
In the corner of the screen, you will see SSP services in action, with Celine doing her grocery shopping and Ryan doing paperwork. To expand on what was said by our members about what SSPSs do, the SSP works with or for blind persons as they do their personal errands, tasks, appointments, or activities. This is done in a manner that leads and enables the deaf-blind person to be as independent as possible. The SSP at all times empowers the deaf-blind person to make their own decisions, keeping in mind the safety of everyone. The SSP must maintain a courteous and respectful relationship with the deaf-blind person and behave in a professional manner. When using the services of the SSP, the deaf-blind person will determine the priorities of what they wish to focus on. The SSP takes their direction from the deaf-blind person. The two overarching responsibilities of the SSP are to provide safe navigation and guiding while traveling, and to continuously provide information about the environment. Therefore, the SSP must be fluent in the language and communication preferences of the deaf-blind person, and the SSP must understand how to guide deaf-blind people in various environments, while walking, using escalators or elevators, in busy areas, malls, on buses or transit, or on busy sidewalks, while also considering weather and seasonal factors like snow, ice, puddles, and wind, etc. More specifically, the responsibilities of the SSP include making transportation available, for example, a car, public transit, a taxi, or an airplane. Serving as a personal navigation guide while walking or traveling. Describing the physical environment constantly, the activities taking place in the environment, the people present, the people arriving or leaving, as well as what is happening. Working with or for the deaf-blind person to do daily communication tasks. Reading, writing mail, reading or writing emails, texts, navigating websites, accessing information on the TV, internet, newspaper, or magazines, etc., and facilitating short interactions with others, for example, a store clerk. Because the service inherently has the SSP and the deaf-blind person in contact on a very personal level, SSP training should cover topics such as interpersonal dynamics, conflict resolution, teamwork, and concepts of oppression and empowerment. As you can see, the necessary skills of the SSP are complex. Let's find out what our members have encountered when trying to work with unskilled SSPs.
One time, the SSP led me right into a puddle of water. She was apologetic, we both laughed, but my foot was soaked.
I've had unqualified SSPs. One person was hearing and not fluent in American Sign Language. Incompetent. We couldn't understand one another, which isn't fair to either one of us. That was a terrible day.
Working with SSPs who aren't properly trained just leads to confusion, frustration, no access because they can't communicate properly.
The SSP is also responsible to adhere to a code of ethics. A more comprehensive description of the SSP's role and responsibilities is available on our website in English and ASL. We invite you to review it for a better understanding of the scope of the work of an SSP. Currently, SSP services are available on an extremely limited basis in Alberta, and this is true across Canada. Let's find out from our members what can happen when SSP services are not available when they are needed.
Helplessness one feels when one is invited to a wedding reception, and yet one knows if I go, I just sit there like a bump of log. And the result is I don't go. The cutoff from a social gathering, I just have that gut feeling it's not going to go anywhere, so I don't go. I've lost deadlines, 30 days notice there's an error on my credit card. I can't find somebody in 30 days to help me with the phone call. It's lost.
It can be a dangerous life for deafblind people without proper services. We can be seriously injured or even killed if we try to go out on our own. We can be killed by a car for simply just crossing the road. Or even hitting a pole while walking means a serious trip to the hospital.
I have walked into poles, which is really scary and annoying.
I've had a number of bad experiences because no SSP services were available. When I have no food left, I'm starving, I have to go for groceries. I know it's risky, but I have to go out on my own. As a result, I've been injured a number of times. Some of the cuts and bruises are healed, but others, the scars remain. You can probably see them on my face. Look here. In one close call, I was almost hit by a car. Going out alone, we risk our lives. Even if it's just to go to the store for plain old bread and milk. It's crazy.
Well, sometimes I can see well enough to get around, but I can't make out what's happening in traffic on a busy road. I never know if it's safe to cross. It's just so dangerous. I'm scared something will happen, so I don't even try.
For most of us, going to the neighborhood store is practically the safest thing we can do in a given day. But as you can see from these stories, the consequences for deaf-blind people to take that same ordinary trip can be dangerous, in fact, life-threatening. Shouldn't such a task as going to the store be as safe for all of us? ASDB believes such accessibility to our communities can be, and must be, made available through SSP services. Finally, let's ask our members how they would feel about the prospect of no SSP services.
Without a SSP, I'd feel so isolated. I wouldn't be able to go anywhere. I'd have no help, no support. I would feel stuck. I'd get no information from anybody.
No phone calls would be able to be made. No trips to any place where there's counter service. Even, for example, ordering a hamburger. I wouldn't be able to communicate with that person on the other side of the counter. At banks, counters, government offices, counters, I just wouldn't be able to cope with them. I just wouldn't.
Without SSP services, we'd be absolutely isolated. No communication, no outside information. We would lose our minds. No way to get out on our own because we would get hurt or totally lost. Unable to get help, we'd be forced to stay at home. We'd be glued to one place. Without communication stimulation, we have got to have SSPs.
Without SSP services, it would mean psychological breakdowns for us. Things like depression that would then lead to different mental illnesses like anxiety, bipolar, different mood swings, or even eating disorders.
When you're not able to get out and do things, you feel really depressed. There are too many barriers to navigate. Right now, things are only getting worse. Improved SSP services would reduce the barriers so we could enjoy life.
We don't need your pity. We don't want it. We're able to do things on our own, independently, just like you. We have hobbies, pets, people we love and take care of. For example, you can see, here, Rita, making supper independently in her own home. Like everyone in the community, deafblind people are defined by multiple identities. We are students in the K-12 system. We go to college and university. We work, indeed, we could be your boss. We are artists, scientists, academics, teachers. We are volunteers and we take on leadership roles. Many of us are parents and we provide for and we take care of our families. We too have LGBTQ members in our community. So you can see that we reflect the same identities and diversity that exist in mainstream society. But in order to live independently and to access the broader community, we need SSP services. Now, let's go back to Cheng.
Imagine a life with no information, no communication, no interaction whatsoever with the environment, absolutely no means to get out of the house. It means deaf-blind people would be trapped in a very dark world, and that's not good for them, and it's not fair. Deaf-blind people deserve the same quality of life as everybody else. Deaf-blind and SSPs together unite as a team to provide greater accessibility, a better quality of life for deaf-blind people that is safe, secure, satisfying, and equal to others.
We hope we have been able to illustrate that SSP services support our independent living, our safety, and our physical, emotional, and mental well-being. SSP services prevent isolation and facilitate integral human needs, such as autonomy, self-determination, communication, intellectual stimulation, social inclusion, and community contact. We believe connection to community in these ways is a human right. ASDB believes the services described in this presentation should be adequately funded through appropriate government sources, not through charity. It is important that SSP services be funded and administered at a level that meets the daily needs of individuals with any degree of deafblindness. So please don't feel sorry for us. We don't need it. We are stronger together. Thank you. If you wish more information, our website is a valuable resource for additional supporting documents and citations for the various sources used to create our materials. We invite you to go there.